Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here and thank you for being with us today. You could be doing other things, having fun, having dinner with the family, but you made a commitment and decided to be here with us today. So thank you very much. My name is Jamie Bertrand, and my name is Jamie Bertrand. Sorry, I apologize. I got distracted with a chat. My name is Jamie Bertrand. I am the CEO and founder at Nourish the Brain Institute. We will be spending some time tonight together. So if you have any questions or comments to make, use the chat box you should have on your screen. I think it's below your screen. For starters, I would like for you to use the chat box to post your city, where are you from, and or your name. You don't have to put the last name, just your name. So we will be a little bit more, I will feel like I get to know you a little bit better. Also, I would like you to know if you are staying until the end of this webinar, you will have a couple of freebies that will be just for you, only because you stay until the end. It is a surprise, so I will let you know at the end of the webinar. A little bit about me. I am a health coach. I am specialized in the brain and human behavior. I learned from amazing professionals from many different health fields and in different countries, one of them being India. As you can see, I spent some time in India preparing for what was coming for my health and also for my PhD. I was in an abusive marriage for over 10 years, where every day I lived in fear. I never knew with which kind of person I was going to deal that day, normal or totally crazy abusive. This kind of behavior is so destructive when sustained over years. It requires a lot to be able to say, I am not putting up with this anymore, and let go. One day I gathered the courage I needed and I kicked him out of the house. It was very difficult. It was very, very stressful, but I succeeded. I kept my house, my son, and my integrity. Thanks to my family, which was awesome for me and for my son. We felt very supported, and they held our hand all the way through. Years later, I decided to adopt my daughter as a single mom. It wasn't easy to combine everything together, but I did it once more. But this is a little bit of Ellie's story about adopting her. And so I adopted in Haiti because at that time it was more convenient. It was more a convenient choice for a single mom. That doesn't happen. Not all countries make the same. They ask some requirements that I didn't have, like being married. So I wasn't married at that time, and that Haiti made it easy for me to do it. When all the paperwork was almost ready, Haiti got into a coup d'etat, and my lawyer on the field and the government of Spain advised me against going forward with the adoption. They told me I was a crazy woman, better give up. But my burning desire and my will wouldn't swallow that pill. This was my already daughter, and I wasn't giving up. Against all odds, I brought my daughter home. I want to tell you the full story, but that's for another day. Or, if you want, at the end of the webinar, you can go to the website in the blog, and there is Ellie's story, and you will get to read the whole thing. And it's a very interesting and with a really nice, happy ending. When you think life can get any harder, do you know the saying, it never rains, but it pours? Oh boy, did it pour. I was working full-time, studying, raising my two kids, and then my father, which I admire, got sick with cancer. My mom was a mess. My brother was working with my father in their company, so he was terribly depressed. All of them were having such a hard time, and I thought, you can do it. You will be fine. Until the day that my brain broke. The stress, the pressure, the emotional pain, and the lack of good nutrition broke the wires in my brain, and my body stopped functioning as it should have. For a split second, my brain didn't send the right messages through the central nervous system, and my body stopped knowing what it had to do, how it could function. It was like someone clicked the reset button in my brain, and I didn't know what was that. My head hurt, my body hurt, I couldn't move, all kinds of things happened from one day to the next. I went to the ER, and they did all kind of testing, from MRI, CAT scans to spinal taps, and nothing. They couldn't find anything. Doctors couldn't figure out what happened and what was wrong with me, but they knew that something was happening to me. Thanks to that, they didn't give me any medication. This was a blessing for me, the best thing that happened to me at that point. I knew I did that to myself, and if I did it, I could undo it. I am curious by nature, but one thing kept coming up in my mind. If my brain stopped and my body couldn't function, it was clear to me that the brain manages the entire organism. I decided I was going to study the brain and why it works effectively for some people and not so well for others. Why depression? Why addiction? Why anxiety? Why overweight? Why diabetes? I traveled to India for work and in the past, and I was very familiar with Ayurveda. I studied homeopathy and other alternative medicines. All of them had one thing in common. All of them were based in what we put in our mouth, what we eat. At that point, I learned about nutrition, food, superfoods, diet theories, and I tried everything it fell in my hands. A few years later, I moved to California. I had a Californian boyfriend. We met in 2006 in LA, and we stayed in touch since then. We did a lot of traveling until the day that he dropped his knee and asked me to marry him. A few years later, I moved to San Luis Obispo, which is a wonderful city, very, very welcoming, but I was bored. I was used to work and I wasn't working. One day, one of my husband's friend told me about a friend of his that had a behavioral medical practice, and they were about to close because they had financial problems. I told him, since I do nothing, I could take a look at their numbers and see if there is a solution. At that time, I couldn't legally work, but when I learned what happened, I couldn't resist the temptation. So I worked for them without pay. At that time, not only did I fix their financial problem, they were already making money. So I stayed. Then I had a lot of problems working in a medical practice where all they were doing was prescribing medication to people, resolving nothing, only making people comfortable with pills, mostly stimulants, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, something to wind them down at night, to help them to sleep. Everyone the same prescription. It was horrifying to me. I helped the practice with their finances and seeing patients, educating them about nutrition and healthy habits, all while I kept reminding them to take their medication. It felt so wrong. I had to quit. And I opened my own business. I learned the brain is the engine of our body, and our mind manages our brain. When the mind isn't set to thrive and succeed, most likely it won't happen. The same happens with health. If our mind is not set to have a healthy, strong body, most likely it won't happen. The mind runs the brain. A friend and a client of mine told me about Bob Proctor. I have never heard about him, and I did some research, and I did some research about him and what the education that he was giving, and everything felt very much aligned with what I do and the way that I believe. So I went to the first upcoming event in Los Angeles. I attended the Paradigm Shift with Bob Proctor, which I suggest everybody, and everything that he was saying, it made so much sense to me. Later on, I went to a very exclusive event in Toronto, and I have been working with him since then. It's been a blessing. He is my mentor and the person I look for advice, because we all need a hand once in a while. He helped me to gather the courage to create the certification program, Dynamic Nutrition Specialist, because he believed in me and in the need of what I was giving to my clients. And he said, you have to certify professionals with your program to spread the message of brain health through nutrition and good routines and habits. And this is what I did by creating the program. With my personal experience working in the behavioral health later, and with Bob Proctor's guidance, I discovered the power of our mind, how our thoughts can change our life and health by only setting the right intention, making a decision towards it, and with the right foods and superfoods, create new neural pathways to power up wherever we want to change, and taking consistent action. When I decided to create the certification program, the Dynamic Nutrition Specialist, I wanted to have the healthiest community at the same time, preparing them to become professional coaches in a very specific field, the brain and the mind. As I said before, our brain is the engine for our body. When the brain doesn't work effectively, the rest of the body doesn't respond well. Every heartbeat, every breath, every eyelid movement, all of that is managed by the brain. If the brain doesn't send the right message, that doesn't happen. Giving my clients and students the education to learn how the body works, what makes us sick or healthy, is a priceless life insurance. Thinking how much money families spend in insurance, health treatments, and medication, when the majority of people could clearly be totally healthy, knowing what to do in every case. To give you a taste of how this program changes people's life, here are a couple of examples of people I help to change their life only by teaching them how their body works and knowing what makes them sick and healthy. One of them was diabetic, and yes, I say was because she no longer is. She had type 2 diabetes, already on injected insulin and pill for 40. She was 40 years old. Her future didn't look good. She was really weak. She didn't feel powerful. She gained a lot of weight after when she started the insulin. When I have clients on medication, I always talk to their doctors. Usually they are open to do it. After 2 months into working with her doctor took her off insulin forever. She went from being an ill person with very weak and not very promising future to become somebody that it was totally healed and healthy. Another client of mine came to me to go off antidepressants. She was in 3 different types of antidepressants for over 28 years. I worked with her for 6 months, and with her doctor agreement, she ended up taking no medication at all, feeling strong and happy. Now she has a toolbox with different solutions for any situation. She learned that having a bad day doesn't mean she is depressed. It just means that the life happens and she has a hard day. Let's cut to the chase. What do we need to feed our brain? Our brain needs to be fed the right amount and type of nutrients. We need to eat fats, protein, whole grains, and lots of water and oxygen. What it doesn't need is sugars, processed food, and also what it needs is love, good relationships, exercise, good sleep, and a fair amount of healthy routines to set up a great day ahead of us. Without the right nourishment, our brain has more difficulties creating a better mind setting, and without the right mindset, we will be less likely to make a good decision about what we put in our mouth. Being pragmatic, the first thing that we can control is what we put in our mouth. Before we master our mind, it makes the process easier. Often the problem is to know what's right or wrong for ourselves. We have so much information coming to us every day from so many different sources. If we read or listen all the different type of diets around, or all the different professionals, what everybody tells us is what we have to do. And that diet, that specific treatment is the ideal, and that's what it works for everybody. Well, we are all very different. What works for me might not work for you. And many times, even if it's really, really healthy food, it might not work for you. For example, for me, I cannot digest broccoli. Broccoli gives me a lot of bloatiness. I don't feel good. I really like it, but I don't enjoy it because it creates a lot of uncomfort in my body. So it is very healthy, but not good for me. So I have to eat something else, like asparagus, and that will do it. Okay, so you have to think that abusing things like a lot of protein or a lot of high carbs, or I don't know, if you listen to the commercials on TV, right? Like they suggest you to eat all this kind of food, processed foods that contain tons of sugars and sweeteners, that creates only more insulin dependence and a lot of other health problems. We are all unique. We have different body, different chemistry, different lifestyles. We cannot pretend to eat the same things and have the same results as our friend or our neighbor. Let's say if you are someone that exercises, the calorie consumed can be higher than a person with a more lethargic life, or even having the same lifestyle, you would have different results because your chemistry, your hormones work very differently than the other person. Getting to know what works for you specifically is vital, and you do that following your instincts and with the right knowledge of how your body works with what you eat. You will get to make a better choice. Our brain is almost 90% fat. Good fats is what our brain needs the most. Basically plant-based: olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, herbs, packed with essential oils. Cod liver oil for the brain is amazing. Krill oil also, salmon, and avoid as much as you can animal fat, because animal fat is the only fat that is not good for our brain, neither for our heart. So avoid animal fat. When we talk about protein intake, it doesn't matter if we choose animal or plant-based protein. For our brain and our body, protein is protein. What really matters is the amount we have in every meal. A good amount of protein is what it will be the size of the palm of your hand. Bigger hand, bigger amount of protein. What we want to do is be very mindful of how much animal protein we have a day. It is better to have plant-based protein than animal protein. And the reason is because animals, even the ones that are raised organically without hormones and medication, have their own natural hormones, as we do. When we eat their hormones, those interfere with our hormonal system, and they can cause all kind of imbalances. So that's something that we want to be very careful, because not only external hormones can cause issues in our health, body and brain. Our body naturally releases hormones that can counteract unproductively to our well-being, such as stress hormones, cortisol, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. These hormones can be very useful for survival, but not so much if we live our life in survival, which is what we know as a stress. And many people live with stress every single day of their lives. To balance our hormonal system, we need to balance our life. I got sick because of prolonged stress. When that happens, the body fights itself. The stress hormones decrease the immune system and the body the capacity to fight against any attack. Then many autoimmune diseases are developed and can flare up from that. Spending time in nature, learning to meditate, do things that makes us happy, and be grateful for who we are and what we have are some of the things that we can do to balance our life. Very, very important to practice gratitude every single day. Besides that, we can also eat food that will strengthen our immune system and our stress response, such as vitamins and minerals like magnesium, but always from a food source. Our body doesn't know how to process chemicals. It's not designed for that. Our liver is what processes every nutrient in the body, and when there is a chemical involved, the liver doesn't understand, and usually storages along with a lot of fat. We can find magnesium in cacao. Raw cacao powder is an amazing source of it. It's healthy and tasty. It strengthens our central nervous system, calms down our brain because it has tryptophan, and increases the amount of neurotransmitters in our brain. That helps us to stay on task and focus. Vitamins. Vitamins are also very, very important, but the same thing, always from a food source. We don't want to buy vitamins that are man-made. They are created in a lab because the liver doesn't understand about those. We need vitamin D. This is a vitamin that we get from the sun. We should spend 45 minutes bare naked underneath the sun to get the amount that our body needs. Realistically, nobody can do that, or nobody can tell. The good news are there are also a couple of good foods that carry vitamin D, such as cod liver oil, cold pressed cod liver oil, krill oil, and also flaxseed oil. Those have vitamin D. Vitamin D prevents from cancer and cell oxidation, so it's very necessary. And if you do a blood test, almost everybody has low vitamin D. So vitamin D, very important for everybody. Vitamin C also prevents cells from oxidation. That means it helps to our brain cells to stay younger longer. Vitamin B is a straight brain food. Some whole grains and semi-grains such as buckwheat and quinoa, avocado, broccoli, and some nuts carry lots of vitamin B. Cacao carries a lot of vitamin B, basically 12. Vitamin B prevents brain degenerative problems such as dementia or Alzheimer, so really good for adults with a background of those degenerative illnesses. Vitamin E, which basically are fats to prevent inflammation and heart disease. Essential oils have lots of vitamin E, so thyme, basil, olives are really, really good. Those have a lot of essential oils and carry lots of vitamin E, highly digestible and really good for your health. Variety and balance are very important. For that, we need to have good daily routines. Daily routines are important to keep your mind organized and play your best game, holding your goals and achievements during the daily basis. We have set up in our website 30-day challenge. You can start anytime. It's always ready for you. When you sign up, you will receive a drip of during 30 days of 1 email a day. Very inspirational. It helps you to create healthy routines, different routines. Some of them put you in really may challenge you a little bit, so that's why it's a challenge. Also, we have a Facebook group called 30-Day Challenge with Nourish the Brain Institute, and you can join us, and we will be very, very happy for that. Another very important thing is for our brain is water. Water helps to keep our brain soft and flexible, which is vital for our neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the capacity of the brain to recover from almost any damage. Be in nature. I love being in nature. I do it almost every day if I can, and it's very important not only for breathing a better quality oxygen, but also for our mind and also for our inner selves. It helps us to stay inner connected to the source, connected to God, to the universe, to whatever you feel like it. And also it helps us to release endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, and those are the happiness hormones that we want those as much as we can. Thoughts are a choice. We choose to have positive thoughts or negative thoughts. When our brain is well nourished, we have the choice. We can't think two things at once. So what we want to do when a negative thought creeps in, because life happens and that will happen, what we want to do is to shift to a positive thought. Fill your mind with a positive thought. It can be an image, it can be a moment, it can be reading a book. It's just put your mind in another state as fast as you can. Be mindful when a negative thought comes, because exchange it for a positive one. This can be a happy picture, as I said, or a fun event, but don't stick with the negative thought, because when you stick with the negative thought, it gets worse usually, right? And during the night is even worse. So just try to shift it with a positive one. Exercise is very important, not only to stay strong, which it does too, but and to have a nice body, but a good amount of exercise will keep you happy, because will keep your hormones flowing all around your brain consistently. That counteracts the stress hormones. Exercise mindfully helps to keep a good mindset and a good healthy routine, and any exercise works, from walking to yoga to swimming to stay on the beach, whatever it is that implies a little bit raising your heartbeat. The last but not the least is a good night of sleep. Our brain and body need a good rest. 8 hours are ideal. 7 hours are okay. 6 hours is too little. And below that, people struggles and might have mental problems. To have a good night of sleep, we need to have a good routine before bed. We can start by turning off any screens 30 minutes before bed. While we are in front of the screen, our brain thinks that we are in daylight by not releasing melatonin, which is the hormone that we need to put us to sleep. Sleep in a dark room with a good temperature, not too hot. Is better a little bit cool. If possible, go to bed a little before 10 p.m. to ensure a good cell renewal and good restoring time. Okay, so now is our Q&A time. If you have any questions, post them on the chat box. Meanwhile, I will read some questions we received previous via email. So this is Martha. Martha is asking about how much water is a good amount of water. As strange as it might seem, there is too much water, although the usual is the opposite. We usually restrict water. A good amount of water, it will be 80 ounces a day. That amount is ideal. Think about 20 ounces water bottle, have 4 of those throughout the day. That will be ideal. If we don't drink water, our brain gets dehydrated and we have headaches. So every time that you have headache, think about how much water you had the day before. Another question, this one is from Ryan, and if I want to take a certification course, the Dynamic Nutrition Specialist, and I cannot pay in full, do you have a payment plan? And yes, we do. We have monthly payments while the course lasts. You can also pay by credit card. There is some credit cards that don't charge you interest for over a year, so you can pay more comfortably, or you can pay in full, which is, better option because there is a big discount. So is something to contemplate. But to me, always education is never being an expense. It is an investment. It is an investment that you will recover soon enough, because the career that you are going to learn with dynamic nutrition specialist, it will give you the skills to set up your own business. And in the beginning, you can still work in your work day, but soon enough you will need to create your own business, because you will be very successful, because we will set you up for that. Okay, investing in your education and investing in your health always pays off, and this kind of career is the medicine of the future. So I always say education instead of medication, and this is the clear example of that, and we will help you all the way through with this. We have a coaching program, although for every need, one-on-one, group series, and I am personally very proud of Dynamic Nutrition Specialist Certification Program. This is an amazing opportunity for people that want to get truly healthy. Like, imagine how much money we spend in health, going to the doctor, in copay, in insurances, in medication if you have been taking long-term medication. Imagine that over your entire life, when you can have you can take a career, have a certification, have your own business, and get yourself fully healthy and recovered. Because, I mean, believe me, the miracles that I see every day with this line of work are just amazing. So it is your choice, but absolutely recommend to take the course and take your life in your hands, so nobody else's can tell you what to do and how many hours you have to work. I have opened up a few slots on my schedule to have a free consultation with me. See if you want to talk to me for anything that you heard today, or any questions that you might possibly have, any health questions that you might possibly have. I will help you, I will guide you, I will help you to identify your main problems. I will help you to identify what could be a good option, coaching option for you. I will be more than happy to do it and help you. I will be, as I said, I open up a few slots on my schedule to have a free consultation with me. Be quick to book your appointment, because it will go fast. It is 1 hour, usually 1 hour consultation with me is $350. But today, because you stayed through the webinar, it is free. In the chat box, you will find the link to book right now. Go and do it, because these will change your life for better and forever. 6 months from today, if you make the decision, your life shifts completely. So that will be it for tonight. Thank you very, very much for being here. It has been a pleasure and a blessing to have you with us. And I look forward talking to you in your free consultation. Have a wonderful, productive rest of the week, and expect abundance, and check for your email, because you will be receiving a couple more gifts on your email. So thank you very much, and I look forward to see you next time. Bye.